you know actually at a very young age what your interests and proclivities are.
Yeah.
And then you kind of, do different things in life. And if you're lucky enough, you find your way back to what your heart and soul really enjoys. So when my son was born, I began reading to him when he was 15 days old.
Okay.
And everybody thought I was nuts. Like, ye bacha, chota baby, what is he going to know about? What is? But I have done so much research and I understand that the sound of a parent's voice reading, it has a very deep impact on the development of the brain. They've done like brain scans, they've done MRIs on the brain, and they've seen that children who read or who have been exposed to reading, there is different neural pathways that open up, right? There's different sections of the brain which are developed, which in other kids don't. I am who I am because of the books I've read. So I feel that there is solution to any of life's problems lies within the pages of a book somewhere.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the First 90% podcast. Today we have a wonderful guest on the show. She's a mother, she's been an entrepreneur, and she is president and CEO of one of India's most well-known brands in the kids segment, Amar, Chitra, Katha. And welcome, Preeti Vyas.
Thank you so much for having me, Raghav. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for joining. Preeti, how do you do it all?
How do you do it all? I think it's, I think every parent, especially Indian parent, has some superpower gifted to them when the child is born to be able to juggle multiple things. And I think in India, we're lucky to have a great support system as well around us. Yeah.
So you've had a very interesting journey. You're of course a mother to a 16-year-old son.
Yeah.
And from what I hear, he's doing amazingly well.
He is.
You have founded your own companies. You run your own publishing house.
Right.
And then you joined as the president and CEO of Amar, Chitra, Katha about 5-6 years ago.
6 years ago, yes.
And you've also had a very successful stint with them as well. So can you tell us what has your personal journey been like, professionally speaking, when you started off? How did you establish yourself in the professional world?
So I think from a very young age, I was a very ambitious person. So I always wanted to do big things in life and great things in life. There wasn't, I think, a very clear plan on what exactly I wanted to do. But which is why I think I've been able to toggle both the entrepreneurial space as well as the corporate world. In fact, it's been alternating. So it's been one role in corporate followed by one entrepreneurial sprint. It's been like that. And so I started, I'm actually a physics graduate. And I did my postgrad in retail management. This is all the way back in 95, when organized retail was just coming into India, and I thought that there was a great opportunity, and I would love to be in that space because retail is a very exciting space to be in. You're never stuck to a desk job. You're always moving around, meeting people, doing things. So I went to Australia. I did my postgrad there, and even while I was there, I had like 4 or 5 jobs that I was doing because I had told my dad that once you've paid the fees for the first year, I'll take care of all the other expenses. I didn't want him to spend on my living costs, so I was doing multiple jobs and traveling. It was a great experience. And then from there, the journey has been in the space of content, in the space of children, in the space of retail. Somehow children just kept coming back to me in some form or the other. So I started my professional journey back in Australia, actually, with Toys R Us. So that's where I began my formal working life. And then I came back to India and I worked with Sony Music and with Crossword. At Crossword, I started the Sunday Children's Hour, which was a storytelling session which happened every Sunday. I launched my own store then called Kids Town. And Globus was before that. Globus was also in retail, where again I was managing the kids category amongst others. And then I ran my own children's learning store called Kids Town. After which Future Group happened, and 5 years of again opening bookstores and starting our own publishing division and private label publishing, then my own publishing company, and then finally Amar, Chitra, Katha. Yeah, so it's been like 30 years of working.
So was it a conscious decision to be around publishing books?
No,
Children, or
surprisingly, the conscious decision was retail. I thought
Okay.
my education is in retail, and I was very inspired by Sam Walton. And now when I opened my own store, I wanted it to be a chain of stores. Sam Walton started his first store. I mean, he was 26, and that's what my inspiration was, that I should open my store at 26 as well. So the conscious plan was retail, but somehow, I landed up in content and publishing. I thought I was retailing books and children's products, but actually it led me to the world of children's products.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, Raghav, when I meet people from retail, my retail experience, like 5 years at Future Group plus Globus plus all those years, they always wonder what I'm doing in publishing. Like, how did you land up in content and in publishing? But when I meet school friends, from school, nobody's in the least bit surprised.
Okay.
Because as a child, I was always about stories. I was the school storyteller. Like, if a chief guest would be late, then the teachers would send me up on stage to tell the assembly a story to keep everyone entertained.
Wow.
I would be the one reading all the Enid Blytons and coming back and, telling my whole class all the stories. So I was always a voracious reader. So they are not in the least bit surprised.
Yeah. It's funny how the dots get connected.
They do,
right?
they do.
Yeah.
And I think Malcolm Gladwell says it in his book as well, right? In The Tipping Point, where he says that, actually at a very young age, what your interests and proclivities are.
Yeah.
And then you kind of, do different things in life. And if you're lucky enough, you find your way back to what your heart and soul really enjoy.
Yeah. So it's very interesting what you're talking about, that your school friends would not be surprised.
Not at all, yeah.
But I want to ask you, if you look back at the past 30 years, are you surprised, or you're also not surprised and you're like, okay, maybe I did have that inclination somewhere and retail was just an outlet?
Yeah, so I think the dots, like you said, just connect. And I almost felt like everything I had done in my life kind of led me to Amar Katha and led me to this role, which was sort of coming together of a lot of different experiences, a lot of different talents, a lot of different skills that I developed and honed over the years, right? Whether it is actually writing children's books, I'm an author as well. So writing, editing, the actual, the brass tacks of content, right? Knowing from there to marketing, to the retail aspect, to selling, to distribution, to managing independent companies, so the entire P&L management. Somehow, it's almost the universe was training me, right, in every aspect. Sometimes we can't see that, but when you reflect back, it all kind of comes together.
Right. And you said that your first job after your education was also with Toys R Us.
Yes.
Which is also a massive retailer for kids' toys. How did that happen? Was that again like a fluke, or was that, okay, I want something in retail and this looks fun?
So I was studying retail management,
Yeah.
and I was living in hostel, and there was the mall closest to our student village in Australia, in Melbourne, had a Toys R Us, and they had a vacancy. I mean, they had openings, right? This is a part-time jobs.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
you're working, you're studying, and you're working.
Ah.
So you do your 8 or 10 hours a week, or, 20 hours a week was the limit officially that you were allowed on your student visa to do. So I should do those 20 hours.
Okay.
And it was an entry-level job. So,
Got it.
Climbing ladders and arranging stock and, interacting with customers, being at the checkout. But a wonderful experience. I learned so much about consumer behavior, about how parents think, about how children behave. You can see how some kids would throw tantrums and like scream and like lie on the floor wanting a toy. And then you would see other children who would, very nicely listen to their parents and say, okay, I'm not getting it.
Yeah.
And you start thinking about what is it that's getting these children to be the way they are. Very, very interesting.
Anything that stuck out, or anything that you still remember about your experiences that you learned, or you're like, okay, this works, this doesn't work?
Yeah, so I think the experience that stays with me is, that last weekend before Christmas, where there would be, like, people would line up at the store, before, like, this is the days before online shopping, before e-commerce. So we would open the store early that day. The shift would begin at 7 because people would be queuing up to enter the store to buy the latest, like whatever was the it toy of the season. a culture which we have not seen in India, but in the US and Australia, that's very much a culture that, oh, this year it's a Cabbage Patch Kids, which is like the big toy, or a particular Nerf gun, which is really popular, and everybody lines up and queues up and waits to get it. So yeah, that was a really crazy experience. But I think at the end of it all, the universality of parents, and that love for children, and you can see how much parents around the world, across cultures, extend themselves to want to give their children the very best and to give them what they didn't have probably in their childhood. And I think that's a very universal human, emotion. Yeah. And that's really beautiful to see.
What was your childhood like? I'm again coming back to the point that you made about your school friends not being surprised about where you are today.
Yeah.
What was your childhood like, and why was it that you were the voracious reader, the storyteller? What experiences shaped you to be that person?
Right. So I grew up in a family of readers. Our home was completely filled with books. My dad was a doctor. My mom is a lawyer. And both very, very voracious readers themselves. I grew up with two elder sisters. And between the two of them, between my elder sister and me, there's a 7-year age gap. The two of them are quite close in age to each other. So they ended up spending a lot of time together. And I was like that pesky little kid, who was hanging around them all the time and, disrupting whatever they were doing. So in a sense, I was left to myself a lot. And I think that was one of the things that led me, and of course, having easy access to so much of literature around.
Yeah.
And just picking up and reading all the time. And my dad was the kind of person that if you liked one book in a series, he was a doctor. So it's not like we were super rich. I don't think anybody in those days was. It was, India was a very middle class kind of, majority of people were very middle class. But, books was something he never said no to, So he would, if you like one book, he would go out and buy the entire series for you.
Okay.
You just had to say, wow, this was a really good one. And he would, go and buy it. And my dad himself had a very varied interest, right? Even though he was a doctor, he made a lot of money actually on the stock exchange.
Okay.
He was very good at investing. So he would read a lot of business magazines, a lot of the financial papers came to our home every day. He would read books on architecture. He would read, the New Scientist came to our home. American Scientists came to our home. A lot of foreign magazines, National Geographic in those days. They had a children's magazine called World. I think I was the only person in my class who had access to that magazine. So I think there was a lot of very conscious, investment in developing our mind, in developing our intellect by my parents. Hands down, I think that is one of the biggest reasons. Because there wasn't much else to do. I mean, there was Doordarshan and there was one Chitra which came on a Wednesday and a Sunday movie which happened. So we didn't have that many choices for entertainment either.
Yeah.
So I think the books kind of just, I found myself spending a long, long time reading and really getting lost in that world.
Yeah. So it was a combination of lack of other options.
Yes.
And also you being separated from your sisters
yes.
in age. And especially at a young age, the separation is
It
a lot
is,
more.
yeah. Because, the development milestones are so quick, right?
Yeah.
And they're quite distinct. The difference between a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old is a lot.
Yeah. And 4 years old and 11-year-old in your
Yes,
case, right?
yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think if you look at the difference between a 20 and a 24-year-old, maybe it's not that much.
Correct.
But between 4 to 8 or 4 to 11, it's huge. It's a different... So, by the time I was in the 4th standard, my elder sister was already in college and there was boys and there was lots of other things happening. I was just a kid, right?
Yeah. So it was and I'm sure your parents were also busy in those
days
with lawyers and doctors.
Yeah, my mom had, of course, given up a law practice to bring up the three of us. So she was a homemaker. But I don't think my parents were that busy actually, compared to the way I see myself as a parent or the other parents around me. I never felt that my parents didn't have time for me. You know, in fact, like my fondest memories are of lying on the bed, with my dad's arm extended and me lying there and us reading together. You know,
Wow.
Like and there was no restriction to what we pick up Mad magazine, which had a lot of inappropriate jokes actually. But he would pick it up and there would be those tiny jokes in the margins.
Yeah.
And I would not understand. And he would explain to me, ye ho raha hai yahan pe, this is what's happening in this little joke. And then we would both chuckle. And those are my fondest memories of, lying with my head on his, and that's when I tell parents that, the bonding that you can have when you read to your child is unparalleled. And these are the memories that will stay with your child like they have with me for life.
Correct. How do you think this love for reading helped in school or academics, or did it help you in any way?
I think, I mean, in those days, my son today goes to an IB school, so it's a very different education system. But the Indian education system was, sadly, in those days, very memory oriented, right? You had to retain a lot of information and you had to really ratta it and you memorize it, and then you go. And I still feel that in those days, if you told a 8th standard student to take a 7th standard exam, they would fail.
Okay.
Because they've not studied for it, right? You only remember the stuff for your immediate exam. You will not remember what was history syllabus of the previous year. It's gone, right? So there was a lot of emphasis on memorization, and so I was, of course, a good student, but I don't think the reading helped me as much in my academic life in those days.
Okay.
I was in the top 5% and all of that, but I think the way reading has shaped me, my personality as an adult is, I mean, immeasurable. I am who I am because of the books I've read.
Okay. Can you elaborate more on that?
So I feel that there is the solution to any of life's problems lies within the pages of a book somewhere, right? So including like when I was a new mother and I had this newborn baby, and of course they all say that, mother's instinct, but I think there is no instinct. Everything is learned. For me, pregnancy was, I had a difficult pregnancy. So for me, the highlight reel in my head ended with me holding my baby and me smiling. And the end, Suddenly like, oh, I have to look after this baby and I have to bring. So, and with varied advice coming from different people, everybody from the security guard to in-laws to your own family to your friends, everybody has different things to say about how a child should be made to sleep or should be, nurtured. And it was so confusing. And I told myself that, I'm not going to listen to any of them. I'm just going to go to the books, right? Because if there is a doctor in New York who has spent 30 years of his life researching infant sleep patterns in the first 6 months of life, and he has a book out there written, let me just trust his 30 years of study rather than my security guard or random people, Or if there's anything that I'm facing in life, there is the world's best psychologists have written books, and for 200 or 300 rupees I have access to their wisdom and their knowledge. Why would I not read that? So whether it is challenges in my personal life, or emotional challenges, or building a business and looking at management books, or entertaining myself and learning about different cultures and fantasy and just fiction, I think I've used books. And for me, magically, it's always like the right book comes into my lap. It's so surreal that whatever I'm going through, the book just appears. Like when I was planning to move and I was feeling very overwhelmed with all the unpacking and packing, and this Marie Kondo's book came into my life of how to unclutter. It's like, wow, somebody just gifted it to me. So I've always found I have a really good relationship with the world of books. So the right book always comes to me and guides me and helps me.
Yeah. So my view on reading is that it's great for knowledge, which you have also been sharing. But science also suggests that when you learn to read, it also shapes your brain differently.
Absolutely.
And, it also makes you smarter, more intelligent.
Yes.
Cognitively.
Absolutely.
It also improves your memory.
Right.
What is your view on that?
Oh, I 100% agree, Raghav. And I've seen that as a parent. So when my son was born, I began reading to him when he was 15 days old. Okay. And everybody thought I was nuts. Like, ye bacha, chota baby, what is he going to know about? What is? But I have done so much research, and I understand that the sound of a parent's voice reading, it has a very deep impact on the development of the brain. It's very soothing, of course. And as you grow, the impact of reading on the development of the brain, and I'm sure you've seen the studies, but they've done like brain scans, they've done MRIs on the brain, and they've seen that children who read or who have been exposed to reading, there is different neural pathways pathways that open up, right? There's a different sections of the brain which are developed, which in other kids don't. And the science is out there. There's proof of it. And I think my son is the best proof of that, right? Of what reading does from a young age, whether it's in developing a sense of understanding of the world, the awareness, the confidence. Of course, academically, it helps you tremendously because eventually everything comes down to reading the written word and being able to comprehend and process and interpret it in some way. And he's been able to do that marvelously because of reading. In fact, there's some research done by the Lalesh League. The Lalesh League is the organization that promotes breastfeeding, right, as the primary source of nutrition, especially for the first 6 months. They're the ones that, it's a non-profit around the world. And the research that they have said that the activity that is best and most apt to replace mother's milk, to replace breastfeeding as weaning is reading.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah, because in terms of, think about it, it makes sense because in terms of the intimacy, the closeness, right? The comfort, the soothing. Reading to a 2-year-old will have, and the sense of being cut off from the world outside and it's just the mother and the child together. That experience comes through reading, and that is the closest experience. So as when you're trying to wean your child, replace that time with reading time.
Wow.
And you will see that impact on and your child will take to it and the weaning process becomes a lot easier. So I feel that the impact of reading is just so significant. And it's something which is so easily accessible and available. Why would you not do it? Why would parents not do it? It's something that is the best gift you can give to your child is the gift of reading.
So let me ask you this. At what point in your life did you start realizing the impact, benefit, importance of reading that reading has had on your life? At what point did you realize? Did you realize it in childhood? Maybe when after you joined Amar Chitra Katha, before that?
No, I think the real importance, I think it kicked in with Neil, my son's birth, right?
Okay.
And watching him grow and just seeing him being, of course, I'm a proud mom and every mom will think their kid is like special and different compared to other kids. But I could just see that the way he carried himself, the way he was able to articulate his thoughts, the way he was able to speak about things was just a little bit different.
Okay. And what did you do with him to help him get there? Especially in terms of reading,
in terms of reading and also in terms of play. As they say, play is the work of the child, right? Maria Montessori said that line, and it is so important to actively engage in those activities. I had a book. I had actually gone to a child psychologist when he was, I think, 2 or 3 months old, and a development specialist, right? And they obviously thought that there was some problems. They were asking me, is it a C-section kid or a normal kid? Have these milestones been achieved? I said, hang on a minute, there's nothing wrong. Yeah. So then she said, why are you here? So I said, I'm here because I want to know what I need to do to physical health. There is so much literature available on what I should be feeding him and what I should be doing. But
it's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming. Yeah. But for the brain and for the mind, there is very little available. And I don't want to be told when he's 10 that, you didn't do this when he was a baby and that's why, this is the reason why you're having this. So I said, abhi se bata do. Right? Yeah. While I'm being a hands-on parent, tell me what I need to do right now to ensure that he has great, his brain develops because I can't see the brain developing. I can see him becoming taller or stronger. I can see the other things. But that is also growing, at a very, very fast pace.
That's 75% before age.
Exactly,
2, right?
Exactly. So that is happening, right? We know that, but I can't see it. So tell me what I need to do. And then she laughed and said that, there's only like in my entire 30-year career, I've had 2 or 3 crazy moms who have come and asked me this question. So, but she's like, no, I'm really happy you asked. And then she gave me this really good book. And that book had all these different activities at different milestones, right? This is you should be doing at 3 months. This is what you should be doing at 6 months. And so I had joined the toy library and then I would actually look at the toys listed and then I would go and borrow those specific toys and then actually play with him and did that. Along with, of course, a huge collection of, by the time I started my own publishing company. So I had a lot of access to some amazing picture books, which, would pile up and, literally would. And I'll show you some of the videos of him as a baby lying next to me. And I'm just reading. And even as a baby, as a 6-month-old, he's responding to every page.
Yeah.
And because of repetition, right? You're seeing the same books every day.
Yeah.
You're responding to it. And that confidence is growing because you know what's coming next.
Probably responding at the right time. In fact, only today morning, I got a parent send me a video of her 3-month-old baby
Hmm.
responding with at the right
Moments. Yeah, that is so magical,
She was like just so overwhelmed that my 3-month-old baby is talking to me.
It is.
It is almost like that.
It is like that moment, yeah.
Yeah.
And when you do the animal sounds and you make the different, and the child responds, and you can see that, and he would get so excited. And there's a video I have of him like banging his feet. He's lying on the bed. I'm reading, and he's so excited that both the feet are going. Like he's so excited to see it.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of those things with him. And he, of course, he began reading also. In fact, one of the reasons we moved him from an ICSE school to the IB was that because he was reading way ahead of his age group, and the teachers are not able to, because they had a class of 40 kids to manage or 50 kids to manage. She said, I can't do anything special. I have to manage 50 kids. So she said he's falling asleep in class. That was a complaint, right? He's putting his head down.
Because it's so easy for him.
So I asked her that, and she called me as a complaint, right? So I said, so tell me what happened. She said, I gave everybody a worksheet, and he does a worksheet and he puts his head down. So I said, is the worksheet complete? First you tell me that. She said, it's complete. So I said, is it correct? She said, it's flawless. So I said, what do you want my kid to do? Give him another one, right? Yeah. She said, I can't. I have that one worksheet planned for that session and I can't give him more. So I said, then be happy that he's not disrupting the other kids and he's just putting his head down. Oh, kya kara bechara,
Yeah.
But then I again went back to the psychologist and I said, now what? And he said, please put him in an IB school. Put him in a place where there is more flexibility and more freedom for him to grow at the speed at which he wants to, right? Because he was reading very early, and moving him to IB, I saw that he began to flourish, right? Because just the flexibility of picking up things and the attention from the teachers gave him that ability. And he began reading, and today also he reads voraciously.
Yeah. And I think he's also top of his class, right?
He does, yes. He does. He would hate me to say this on camera, so I will not. But yes, academically, he does very well. But more than academically, more than the grades, which I've never really cared about, I think his curiosity, right? I think that is the biggest strength that he has.
Yeah.
Because curiosity is what children need. The hunger to, the love for learning, the love for discovering more. And that's what reading gives you, that genuine relationship with learning.
Yeah.
That's what we have to worry about as parents, not about the grades at all. It's a relationship because it's a relationship, it's going to go on till you're maybe 21, 22 years. So it needs to be a good, healthy, happy relationship. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to have a miserable childhood and, young adult life.
Probably last your entire lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I mean, he's plays basketball, he plays the drums, he plays chess, reads a lot. Yeah, so he's really cool. Son is cool.
Good job, Mom.
Thank you. Yeah.
So these days there's of course mobile apps and
Of course.
screen time.
Yeah.
How important do you think is it to read from a book versus reading on the mobile phone, especially for kids?
I think for the younger age, reading from a book is definitely preferable, right? Simply because the tactile feel of a book, right? The way the colors look on page, the physical act of turning pages, that whole notion of cause and effect, that comes in with actually holding a physical book and turning, the feeling of completing a book when you close it, all those things don't come from a screen.
Yeah.
Right? They come from tactile physical books.
Yeah.
And I think at the younger age, that should be the way to go. Right? Of course, reading digital also has its advantages. So I am not a person, as a publisher also, I am not against digital at all. Because these are all digital natives. They have grown up with devices in their life and we can't wish it away. It is going to be a part of their life. We have to find ways to give them nourishing, nutritious content on the app, on whatever app they're using. If you just leave an unsupervised device, then the child is going to go onto YouTube and there's going to be a lot of rubbish that gets consumed. But if you're able to monitor and curate the content that your child is consuming, a device need not be the villain that we make it out to be.
Yeah, so there is a difference between reading on a device and watching videos on device.
Absolutely.
So right now, I think I was talking more about reading on device.
Yeah.
But since you've touched upon it, what is your view on watching video on a mobile phone, especially for kids? And how do you see that as a knowledge replacement that you would have otherwise got from a Okay.
No, you can't compare the two at all. Because I feel that when you're looking at a video, it's a very passive engagement. It is somebody else's, there's a director, producer, cinematographer who has created something, or animator who has created, and you're just sitting there and you're just consuming it, right? You're just watching it. It's very passive. How much of your brain is getting engaged? How much of your own imagination is nothing, right? Whereas when I'm reading a book, it is developing my own imagination. It is developing my own idea of what that story is. It gives me, there is opportunity to pause and stop and go back and read it, reflect, talk, all of those things. Whereas watching a video is just, like I said, it's just passive.
Right. So what you are alluding to is that when you read, you are able to
You're far more,
visualize
you're
in your own way.
far more engaged. You're engaging your mind, you're engaging your brain, your eyes, you're engaging everything in a very active way. Whereas when you're watching something, it's very passive engagement. You're sitting there and you're just consuming something which somebody else has made.
Right.
So although that is great for relaxation, perhaps, even as adults, we all feel the need to go on Netflix and just, binge on something, watch something. But if you're trying to develop something, then you need to engage yourself in it. That's like just common sense. You need to engage your senses in it. And that's the only way you will be able to absorb and learn it.
Got it. Now, let's steer the conversation a little bit into your professional and business success.
Right.
I know that you started your own publishing company and you opened some bookstores as well.
Yeah.
How did you decide, or how did you get the confidence to, and especially I think you were already a mother at that time. You also
When I started my publishing company, yes. The bookstore actually happened before he was born.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you get the confidence to do it, and how were you able to manage parenting as well as being successful in your own business?
So I had been working, I was 35 when I had him. So I had already been working in full time for more than a decade. And it was a conscious choice to have him, right? So I was still on the fence whether I would go back to full time work. I had still not actually properly resigned because they said that wait and see how you feel once he's born, if you want to come back or not. So I was kind of on a long leave. But once he was born, I was like, no way, man.
Okay.
More out of not sacrifice, but more out of greed. I just wanted to spend more time and enjoy that feeling of being a parent and having this amazing child in my life.
Yeah.
So FunOKPlease grew from that desire to do something where I could, do it, be flexible with time and be there for him, and build something which could also. And I think it worked out beautifully because it's those first 10 years when he was growing up. My work took me to a lot of events and, book readings and bookstore sessions. And he came along, a lot of meetings with illustrators and things that should take him along. And he had got the right exposure, right? So I took him along wherever possible. I think he got that. And I still continue to do that. Like 2 years back, we went to Comic-Con San Diego, and it was the first time for ACK to be at Comic-Con. And I said, look, it's your summer holidays. So come.
Yeah.
It'll be a great experience. I took him along and, it was, I think in that through that one trip and that one exposure, he grew more than he had grown in the whole of the last year at school, right? Because of the exposure and the experience. So I think as a parent, I've never been, this is work and this is play and this is work-life balance. It's never been that way for me. I've always enjoyed what I do so much that the two worlds just merge. I'm sure you understand that.
Yeah.
You're not consciously saying, okay, now I will stop thinking about work and I will start thinking only about, you don't do that. Yeah. So even if you're on holiday, ideas keep coming to you and you keep thinking about that, and both ways, right?
Yeah. So I'm talking not about the separation of the two worlds, but more from the point of view of people who are looking to start, especially working women, mothers. It's a big challenge for them, right? Like not just, so it's a risk in terms of money. It's a challenge in terms of managing time. Also that sort of parental guilt that will I be able to give enough time to my kids, my family? So did you have any of these things? What was the security that gave you the confidence that, okay, I can do it, and jo hoga dekha jayega.
See, I think every entrepreneur has to be a little bit mad. You know, if you are a very, sensible person who weighed all the pros and cons, you would not be an entrepreneur. There needs to be some level of passion, some level of madness, some belief, right? Where you see something which others can't, and you see some opportunity that others can't, and you just go for it, right? Having said that, of course, entrepreneurship is a tough journey, right? And to anybody out there who's thinking, I won't tell them whatever you think it's going to be 10x harder.
Yeah.
It is hard. Managing the cash is hard. Getting people to understand what you're trying to do itself is hard. And especially starting something from scratch is a tough journey, right? So you need to have that belief in the idea, the belief in yourself, and the power and the ability to just sustain and wake up every morning and keep going, and keep moving forward.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it was a combination of all those things, the passion, the desire to. But I think entrepreneurship is a great option for young mothers, right? Because you have the flexibility of time then, right? It's corporate life is tough, like having to show up to an office every morning at a fixed time. And, it is harder if you don't have the support system in place. You know what, Raghav? Both are hard. Both are hard. And that guilt is something which is, I think, a byproduct of being a parent.
Yeah.
No matter what you do and how much you do, you're always, you have to be very mindful of not letting that guilt rob you, of the joy of work and the joy of being a parent.
Yeah.
Because when you're with your kid, you're thinking, I should be doing so many things at work, which are, and that guilt is there. And then when you're at work, you're thinking about your child.
Yeah.
And so that guilt is just,
it never go away.
It never go away. And it's a very negative emotion that just robs you of your present moment. It's robbing you of the need that you have, that you need to be in the present moment and give it your 100%, whatever you are doing.
Yeah. And how did you decide to quit your publishing business and join Amar Chitra Katha as the CEO?
So I didn't actually quit it. It took me about 8 years for the company to become profitable.
The publishing company.
Yeah, it was very hard. Very, very hard. And it was a tough journey. But personally, I was going through a rough patch. I was going through a divorce in 2018. So it was a difficult period for both Neil and me. And 2019, so literally I had always decided that 10 years, I will try to be like a full-time mom and be there for him and do whatever else, I'll prioritize. First 10 years, I'm going to be there for him. And literally 2019, we had just moved homes, and my friends had told me that you need to shift home, so you need a new space to have new energy, right? So he wanted to have his 10th birthday in the old home, so we finished his 10th birthday celebration, and we moved to the new home. So he had turned, it was his 11th year, and 3 days after moving and 3 days after his birthday, I get a call from a very random headhunter.
Okay.
Saying that, there is a leadership position at a children's publishing company and you have been identified. And I wasn't looking for a job or anything.
Yeah.
So I said, that must be in Delhi because publishing is all in Delhi.
Okay.
So they said, no, it's in Mumbai. Then it's only Amar Chitra Katha because that's the only large publishing company in the children's space in Mumbai. So my first answer was no, that finally this thing has become profitable. Now I'm not leaving it. So they said, come and talk, come and meet.
Yeah.
And it's such an iconic company, such an iconic brand. We all grew up reading Amar Chitra Katha and Tinkle, that even to be in the shortlist for a job like that, I felt so proud. I felt so happy. But then there was my own company and I said, look, I don't want to shut it down.
Yeah.
Right? Nor do I want to sell it. So respectfully, I'll have to walk away from this. But then we came to a new solution. We arrived at a very novel solution. Not novel actually, but the best solution is where I managed to do a licensing deal with Amar Chitra Katha. So all the content of FunOKPlease was officially and exclusively licensed to Amar Chitra Katha. So the ownership of the company remained with me. But only ACK had the official rights to publish and distribute. So there was no conflict.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how it still continues to run and the books continue to sell. It's 2011 is when we started FunOKPlease and now it's 25. So it's been 14 years that company. It's very small, but the books continue to sell. Yeah.
And how has your experience been with the Amar Chitra Katha? What have you achieved? How was the journey like? Where did you learn the skills to be a CEO of, as you rightly put it, an iconic brand like that?
So for me, Raghav, my entire experience somehow has always been with startups. I've always been in that 0 to 1 journey.
Yeah.
So this was the first time where I stepped into a space which was a 55-year-old company, right? And a very iconic company where there were employees who had been in the company for 25 and 30 years. The youngest employee is 21 today in the company and the eldest one is 65, So to have that breadth of... So it was a very different experience, and we had National Geographic also with us at that time. So 3 very iconic brands. And... but because of being an entrepreneur, you learn a lot of things. Managing cash, being frugal with expenses. Those things come very naturally to entrepreneurs because we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can become profitable, right? So how to make a business profitable is something I had done multiple times. Because of publishing experience with Depot, where I had opened our own publishing division, our Future Group, and where we had our own store. So I understood the whole distribution cycle. Marketing I had done a lot. Marketing, editing, all of those. So by the time I joined Amar Chitra Katha, I had got exposed to the 360 degrees of content, right? Of media and content, how it works. Stepping in, it was an awestruck moment of, landing up and on your desk, there are 3 new comics and you're supposed to read them on Monday mornings. Like, wow, this is a good job, right? But we had a lot of challenges. It was a very print-heavy business. And although we did have digital apps, the revenues were very print-focused. And print is tough. The margins in print are very, very difficult. So a lot of difficulties were there. And besides, I joined and in 6 months, the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
Right. So suddenly I was left, suddenly looking at the situation where we couldn't print anymore.
Yeah.
And what are you supposed to do now? And, you don't even have money to pay salaries. It was such a difficult situation. But luckily, we did have digital apps, which were kind of the stepchildren of the family. We never cared about them as much. But we ran a campaign on the 20th of March, 2020, where we said, let's open up the library. Let's give free reading for a 21-day period. We had 67,000 subscribers on the 2 apps at that time. And I remember telling Dipesh, who was our digital head, that if 67,000, if it becomes 1 lakh subscribers, it'll be worth it. Because people are stuck at home, kids have nothing to do. Let's give them, There was some concern, what if somebody reads the whole catalogue? I said, we'll give them a prize, yeah. If someone is able to read the entire Amar Chitra Katha catalogue in 21 days, we'll give them a gift, Let's not be scared. So, I've always been a person who takes risks.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you don't try things, you'll never know. 8 out of 10 ideas will fail, but 2 will work.
2 will make it work.
Yeah, but to get to those 2, you'll have to try 10.
Yeah.
You'll not know otherwise. So I said, let's try it, Like, there's nothing really much to lose. We're all sitting at home anyway. But the campaign went viral. Viral and how? So from 67,000, we went to about 500,000 users in that 15-day period.
Yeah.
It was like a cricket match, like the patient called me and said, Preeti, we added 25,000 people in the last 2 hours, or we added 20,000 people in the last 4 hours. It was totally nuts. And that digital pivot really helped us to get in much needed, new customers.
New reach as well, I think.
New reach, it went all over the world.
Yeah.
It went global. The link kept circling back from various countries and people would keep when the link circles back, it's done the rounds, Is this for real? Is this genuine? Is this offer real? And thanks to, the dynamic team that we have, they really worked hard in converting and retaining those subscribers. So the DAO numbers began to look really good. We were able to convert them into paying, paid subscribers. Right from charging, Indian customer who would pay $19.99, like $2,000 for an annual subscription, to $149 we were charging to the US subscriber. So we saw the digital revenues coming in. We started doing a lot of workshops, online workshops. And again, hats off to the team because nobody said that, this is not my job, I will not do it. So like Reena Puri, who was our senior most executive editor, she is in her 60s. I said, Reena, will you do online? She could have easily said, it's not my job to teach 10-year-old children how to write stories. But she says, yeah, sure, I'll do it, right? We were all in front of screens conducting online workshops, To the extent they became so popular that, we began doing them on the US time as well. So you were doing workshops at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And I just think that success, it's not my success. It is really a team effort. We all just really people can come up with ideas. Leaders come up with ideas all the time, but unless a team takes them on and really puts their heart into execution, nothing is going to happen, right? So the digital business took off, the workshops took off. Plus, we got out of a lot of, non-performing businesses, non-core businesses. We just closed all those down. And the company became profitable, and we saw our biggest growth and, our most profitable year over the last 2 decades, perhaps.
Wow.
And there's been no looking back ever since. So from there, a lot of licensing deals have happened, whether it's for Chitra Katha or for our Tinkle characters. So licensing revenue is another new stream that has opened up. Merchandise, our bobbleheads, our t-shirts, those have started. So the content space is like that. Once the content starts doing well, the entire, all the other, you go transmedia. Every other space starts opening up and you start getting different. The revenue streams might be different. Some might be small, some might be large, but they're all very recurring in nature. And I'm very proud that today, of course, print has fought back now. Print is back. So we are back to having 80% of our, 75-80% of our revenues coming from the print channel. But now in a very profitable, a very sustainable way. So, the way we are doing the business has changed. The collections have improved. Ultimately, all comes down to cash, right? No matter what your P&L says, it comes down to cash. So that has really, the whole engine is working a lot better because of a couple of things that, these things that we did right. I think very importantly, the pace of new content creation has also been kept up.
Okay.
Right? So we're not just selling the library. It's not the archives. We still have a new issue of Tinkle every month. It's a 48-pager. Plus, we do close to 2,000 to 3,000 new pages in print every year, which is humongous, right? Across the different brands. So literally every 2 months, there's something new which is coming out from Chitra Katha as well. Tinkle is, of course, every month. We have new imprints, the ACK Junior, the My First Comic. All of these new things have, really, really helped in. So when the revenue is spread over a very large base. So I'm very proud that 85% of the revenue comes from readership, core content consumption, which is a retail customer either going to an Amazon or going to our D2C site or going to a bookstore and picking up or buying a subscription online. But it's an individual. So when it's spread over such a large base, millions of customers, they don't disappear overnight. It's a funnel. I'm sure you experience the same. New customers keep coming and other kids keep getting older and keep, dropping off.
Yeah.
But that's a very sustainable business model. It's not built on one sponsorship deal or one large licensing deal. Ke yahan se, you got your... No, it should not be like that. That is just the jam on top. Yeah. If that comes, that's a bonus. But when your core revenue stream has a large base and it is people paying to consume your content, it's a very stable place to be in.
Yeah.
Your revenue should not be coming from advertising. Even though the periodicals business works on that model, I've always said Tinkle has to be profitable on its own, on the basis of its content. Like people should be paying to read what you've written.
But you guys do have ad.
We do.
But you're saying that that's bonus.
That's bonus. Let that be like the jam, extra jam on top. Your bread and butter has to be your core.
People have to pay to consume.
Yeah. There should be.
It's not like you're giving it out for free for the advertising.
Exactly.
A lot of print magazines work like that.
Yes. Yeah. So that keeps editorial teams, that keeps the content teams on their feet, right?
Correct.
Because you're creating content and you want people to pay money to read what you've written. It better be good stories, right? You have to understand what the child wants. In the case of a Tinkle or an Amar Chitra Katha, luckily for us, the brand has so much resonance with parents and teachers and education is that, what I always say is that the door is always open for us. We don't have to introduce this brand to anyone.
Yeah.
But so the first issue will go in very easily because a parent will buy it or a teacher will recommend it. But will the second issue go? The second issue is if the child is enjoying it.
So you guys measure the traditional metrics of customer acquisition cost, retention,
yes, of course.
referral rate.
Online, of course, it's a lot easier. For the
yeah.
offline, it's hard. A lot of our business is also B2B. It goes through distributors. So it's very hard to get metrics over there. Also with the physical book, when it goes into someone's home, you don't know whether the child is actually reading it or not reading it, or is it that the teacher has said that, at the PTA, the teacher has a PTM, the teacher has told the parent that your child is not reading at all, look at her grades, Then the parent comes out and, out of that anxiety buys something. Will the child read it? We're not sure of all those things. But digitally, for sure.
Yeah.
As a subscriber, you know exactly which books are being opened. You know what percentage of the book has been read, whether it's 16%, 20%, 80%. So you get very sharp insights into what is working, what is not. Yeah. But overall, we say that the readership is at least 3x of number of copies because a physical copy will be read by other members of the family. There could be siblings. And if it's a school and library, then it's read by thousands of children.
Yeah, correct. So what is it that you are looking forward to, or what is it that you're working on now? Maybe personally, professionally, what is your journey going to be now?
So I feel one of the things I've been obsessing over for the last 6 to 12 months especially is, how to get out of the trap of, performance marketing and digital marketing, because it kills me to give money to Meta. Why are we spending, So continuously thinking of organic ways of generating revenue, organic ways of acquiring customers, which I would much rather spend on doing that, because that gives you a runway of a couple of years, whereas digital marketing gives you that runway instantly. You'll get the instant result, but you're a hamster on a wheel. You got to keep, the minute the tap shuts, revenue stop. Okay. So that's something that I've been obsessing about. So we did a whole digital readathon in January. It was the first ever readathon that we did. I think anybody has ever done a digital readathon in this country. And we opened up, it was a competition between schools. And I thought we'd have maybe 20, 30 schools signing up. But we did get 100 schools signing up. And then, of course, we stopped because the team was worried that we won't be able to handle the back end. So each of the 100 schools put up a team of 10 students. So we had 1,000 students, and we gave them all the digital app access. And we were tracking the number of hours they were reading as individuals as well as a team. So in a 10-day span, each child had to read 30 minutes per day. So it was 5 hours. And the team had to complete 50 hours. Okay. And there was a daily leaderboard which showed which school had done how many hours. And that's the daily, it was very, very exciting, and it got very competitive. And it was wonderful. And then so almost some 7,000-8,000 hours of reading was done in that period. It was amazing. Yeah. And then we were able to convert so many of them into paid subscribers. Yeah. So that's the kind of stuff that I feel is, and at the same time, it aligns so well with the brand, because you're eventually creating a reading habit. And that's what you want. So I feel that when you're in the children's business, you have to play in the world of the child. Although the customer is the parent who is, spending the money, but the consumer is the child. And you have to continuously keep your eyes on the child. Not get lost with a brand like ACK. We have a lot of nostalgia customers as well. You know?
Like me.
And collectors as well, So it's they're an easy lot to sell to, because they have so much love, and you can sell them premium products at very premium prices. But I feel that, that is a very short journey. Somebody who's 15, 10 years is going to be 60 and then 70, and, that's the end. As long as you're focused on the current generation, you're always going to be active and alive and relevant as a brand.
So anything that you would like to share with parents of young toddlers who want their toddlers to get into the habit of reading? What are the action points that they should be doing? So this is one of my
pet subjects. Okay. I've done I've done a bunch of webinars on it, and I conduct this workshop for parents, which is like a full day workshop on how to encourage reading. But I'll give you a few tips from those workshops. Number one is to start young, start early. Like I started at 15 days. The earlier, the better. It's never too soon. So start reading as early as you can. Don't think that is my child understanding. No. Just read and you will see the impact, right? Number two, just like you're updating your child's wardrobe. Physically, but at 6 months, the clothes he's wearing will not fit him when he's 10 months. You're going and buying new clothes all the time. But remember, the brain is also developing. So remember to update your library of books, of toys. Keep on getting new stuff because that child needs that stimulation. Make your home into a space that celebrates learning. Right? If your home is only full of screens and, and a bar and, whatever else, you're not creating an environment which is conducive to learning and, where you're celebrating learning. So build that environment at home. Third thing is get away from the phone yourself. Right? I mean, it's not fair for parents to say, read a book, you're not reading, but you're sitting and scrolling on your phone.
Be a good role model.
Be a good role model. Children learn by seeing your actions and not by what you're saying.
Correct.
So read yourself, you'll do yourself a favor as well. It's a gift you can give yourself. And for me and Neil, the most precious moments are, turning off all devices, put on the AC, he's reading his book, I'm reading mine. And he'll read something out aloud from his book, I'll read something out, and he's like, Mama, listen to this, and it's just amazing. And that is the bonding that, even though he's 16 and, at that age where you're not supposed to have much of, connection with, people are always saying about teenage years being so hard, but because of our shared love for reading, it's kind of just gone very smoothly for us. Yeah. So create that environment, be a role model yourself, make time for reading. Make time for quiet, slow times in your life. It doesn't all have to be
very important.
Rushed, rushing around all the time. Carry a book with you wherever you go. I always have my Kindle with me, but when he was younger, whether you're at a doctor's, you'll be going to pediatrician. They will make you wait. That's just how it is. So, carry a book with you. So you can use that time, yeah.
Thank you so much, Preeti, for joining. This was such an amazing conversation.
It was fun. Thank you so much. Thank you for having
your
me.
Journey.
Thank you.
And also all the tips about parenting as well.
Thank you so much, and wishing you all the best with raising superstars.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.